So how you doing?
I'm good. I'm
I'm like,
good. So why do Muslims dislike Paul, man?
I don't know. I don't think Muslims dislike Paul. So I don't understand where you kind of get that from. I
Well,
mean, we believe that Paul just the translation from the Greek, from the Latin to the English, that people who translated what Paul said made mistakes. And so there's certain verses and certain things, but there's a lot of truth to what Paul has written in books in the Bible.
so you do believe Paul taught the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. So you believe then that Jesus is Lord and who died by crucifixion and rose again on the third day, as what Paul says?
No, I don't believe that.
But you just said that Paul teaches truth.
I said a lot of what Paul said, a lot of what's been said in the Bible has been misinterpreted.
Okay, so do me a favor.
A lot of stuff is lost in translation.
Okay, okay. I want to show you
That's
something.
just like common sense, translation.
Okay. So I want you to interpret interpret this for me. Okay. Let's go ahead and put it on the screen here. The Bible verse on the left, Romans 10:9. Are you able to see it?
Uh,
Or let me make it bigger.
man,
Is that better?
stop, man. Shell, stop calling me. Hold on.
Yeah, tell them to stop calling you, man. You busy.
No, she keep calling me, man. She's like one of those women that I don't want to stop calling, but she's like, you gotta answer me. For the eyes have seen your salvation. Starvation? Is that starvation or salvation? Salvation that you have prepared in the presence
Over here to the left. Verse
of
9.
verse 9.
Romans 10:9.
Verse 9. Because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved.
So do you think that
No,
that's pretty
I don't believe that. And neither do the Jews in Jerusalem.
okay? So, but this is Paul teaching this, and
I don't
you
believe
said
God
you
had a
said that,
son that was cursed and crucified for my
but you
sin.
said that you
And
said
neither
that
would I
Paul taught.
want
You said
God's
that
son
Paul
to be
taught. Hold
cursed
on,
and
Robert,
crucified for
Robert,
my sin.
Robert. You said
I
that
would
Paul
never want
taught.
God's son to
You
be
said that
cursed and
Paul taught. Hey,
crucified.
dude, you're talking over me, dude. Stop it. You said that Paul taught true teachings. So right here, I just wanted to show you something that Paul taught. That's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. It's nothing confusing. So, do you affirm this that Paul taught clearly? Go ahead, you can speak. Go ahead, Robert.
So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Michelle, why is she doing that when I ask you not to sell?
All right. Let's bring up somebody else. Heidi, are you a Muslim? Jason, you ain't. Oh man. She keep calling me. She keep calling me, man. Oh, that's funny. Shout out Jason, man. Oh, that's funny. Hadi, are you there?
Hello?
How you doing? Are you a Muslim?
Yeah, I'm Muslim. I just want to let you know it's a bit noisy. I don't know if that's okay with you.
It depends on how it knows. I'll let you know if it's bad.
Okay, okay. Um,
But yeah, I'm asking, why do Muslims dislike Paul?
why do Muslims dislike Paul? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was part of the stream, but I've heard some arguments. I just don't know like what the claim of that argument is. I personally don't use that argument in my philosophy, but
Okay, so you don't
if it's
reject
okay with
Paul?
you, I had some questions.
I hold on. Like, so you don't reject Paul?
I mean, I reject Christianity as a whole, not Paul specifically.
You reject Christianity as a whole, so you believe that Paul was a false teacher.
Um, it's a bit complicated.
So help me. Like, was Paul a false teacher or not?
um, well, I'm not completely certain on about Paul specifically, but I know that according to Islam, Jesus himself, he wasn't obviously he wasn't divine. He was a prophet, but he had disciples, and those disciples were among the most righteous. So I don't know if Paul is among those, but I know like the other disciples, like Matthew and Mark, those Islamically would be his righteous disciples.
Okay. So you believe that Matthew, Mark, John, those guys, Peter, that they were righteous
Yes,
and they taught true teachings.
maybe not all of them, but at least some of them.
Well, I mean, I, they would have to be all righteous, right? Because Allah even helped them, right? And when they helped Allah, Allah helped them, and or they helped Allah in His cause to spread the
Yes,
message of Jesus, right? So they would have to get it right. They can't get it wrong if Allah's the one helping them spread the message, right?
yes. But as far as I know, I believe I may be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. But John lived a fairly good while after Jesus, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of iffy to me. So I don't know if John would
Wait,
be
why?
among them.
John was a direct disciple of Jesus. He just lived longer than the others.
No, no, I meant lived after. Like,
Oh, no, 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 no. He was a direct disciple of Jesus, bro.
okay, okay. Well, perhaps he would be. I'm just not completely educated on the topic, but yeah,
So we have their writings. We have what Peter taught. We have what Matthew taught. We have what Mark wrote, what John wrote, you know? Do you accept their teachings when they
yeah.
conveyed the
That
message of
that's where
Jesus?
I differ. That's where I differ. They have their teachings, but the scripture today, we don't know if that's directly from them or not. Like any Muslim, you've probably heard the claim before, like many times.
I
We
hear
we
Muslims say that, but that's not. You can't say that we know that it wasn't for. Well, this is my problem. Okay, so like for example, you mentioned how Matthew and Mark were, followers of Jesus. Where did you get that from?
It's from the Quran. I don't know exactly which verses, but like each prophet, they had themselves, they had revelation, and they
Uh,
had disciples and people around them.
yeah, but the Quran doesn't tell you who they are. It
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't.
I know. But
Yeah. So where do you
from my
get this?
own personal perspective,
Uh,
I think there's enough history to say that part of what we believe that are Jesus' disciples, at least part of them are those righteous disciples that the Quran or Islam claims.
but okay. So where do you get this knowledge from that assures you that, for example, Matthew was a disciple of Jesus?
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. I can't say for certain that it's these specific people, but Jesus himself did have disciples, and those disciples were among the most righteous. I can't say names because I don't have that certainty.
But you said names earlier. You mentioned Matthew and Mark.
As an example,
So you believe that Matthew and Mark were followers of Jesus.
if it's the same people, then yeah, I do. But I mean, we can't be certain among English names when they didn't really even speak English. So
But dude, that means nothing. Having an English name, Greek name, whatever, that means nothing. We know who they are. They're Matthew. They've always been known as Matthew. It's or John and John Mark, Peter, Cephas, Simon. You know, let's not do that. You
Okay.
know.
All right, yeah.
So we have the writings of Matthew, which you affirm is a disciple of Jesus, but you don't accept what he says.
Not in whole.
So that's where I'm confused about. How can you say that you accept Matthew as a disciple, a righteous disciple of Jesus, who Allah helped, but you know, but then reject his writings?
Because I don't know if it's completely his writings.
So what reason do you have to doubt that he wrote what he wrote?
So, as far as my knowledge goes, I know the manuscripts of the Bible are inconsistent with what we have today.
How? In what way? Like, for
Um,
example, in what way are the manuscripts of Matthew's gospel inconsistent with what we have of Matthew today?
not necessarily Matthew, but I know in the Gospel of Mark, the ending is not in one of the manuscripts, and I was looking into another manuscript, but it's all mostly untranslated, so I couldn't figure that out. So I wanted you to kind of help me with that,
So if it's not in the earliest manuscript, how would they know that?
because it's not written there
Not written where?
in the manuscript.
So they have access to the earliest manuscript of Mark to know that something doesn't exist in the earliest manuscript of Mark.
It's the Codex Sinaiticus. As far as I know, it's in like around the 3rd or 4th century.
So what you're affirming for me is that we haven't lost anything. We just have too much because we have the manuscripts, and then we have what is a variant of the manuscript, but we don't lose anything.
No, we have the manuscripts, but as we all know, like important things like this are kept within a tight circle of authority, and this circle of authority has easy access to the manuscripts, and they
So
can
when you
easily change
so
whatever
when you
they want.
say that there's inconsistencies in the manuscript, like I was asking about Matthew, what gives you a reason to doubt that Matthew wrote what he wrote?
Well, I'm not going to say Matthew specifically because, like I said, I can't confirm if Matthew himself, right? Like, and I don't know about the names, but I'm telling
Yeah,
you that, like,
what reasonable doubt? Because on every manuscript that we have, they all have the title of Matthew on them. Um, all of the church fathers confirm that Matthew wrote Matthew, Luke wrote Luke, Mark wrote Mark, John wrote John for 2,000 years of history. So, what reason do you have to doubt that Matthew wrote Matthew?
I mean, like I said, there's an element of truth and there's an element of falsehood, right? I
What
haven't
element?
read the Bible in its entirety, but
What element of falsehood is there? That's what I'm asking.
like if you open a Bible today, right? There's verses there, and you open a Bible from back then, and the verses aren't there.
So, are you saying that textual variance means that there's falsehood?
Not necessarily, but I would like an
Okay, so then that
explanation that you can provide.
see that's what I'm saying, bro. I'm asking you what is a falsehood, and when you mention one manuscript will have this and another manuscript won't. So is textual variance a falsehood to you? But you just said no. So I guess that's out. So what about Matthew? What reasonable doubt do you have to doubt that Matthew wrote Matthew?
Another concern of mine regarding the Bible, including Matthew, is how exactly the Bible was canonized. Because from what I know,
What
it's
does that have
different.
to what does that have to do with Matthew writing Matthew, bro?
I'm not cherry picking Matthew.
But
I'm
I
asking about the
asked,
Bible as a whole.
okay, so the only reason why I'm focused on Matthew is because Matthew is one of the names that you yourself said that Matthew is one of the righteous disciples of Jesus. That's what you said. But at the same time, you're rejecting his writing. So I'm asking why? Why are you, what reasonable doubt do you have? What reasonable conclusions and substance do you have to reject Matthew's gospel?
Okay. I gave you some names in the beginning of when I was brought on here, and I said they were disciples of Matthew, right? I mean, disciples of Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I meant was that these people are likely to be Jesus' disciples, but perhaps it was not actually Matthew, and it may have been somebody else, or it may not have been Mark, and it may
Based
have been somebody
based
else.
on what? What evidence that you have that it was anyone else?
Based on uncertainty, because I can't be certain that it was these.
That doesn't give. That's not giving me anything. You being uncertain doesn't mean anything. What grounds do you have to be uncertain that Matthew is actually the disciple of Jesus? That it was that it could have been anybody else. What do you have to substantiate your uncertainty?
How do I put this? Okay, so all the information about these figures, right? Like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or the other disciples. Majority of them are found within the Bible, right? And some of the church father writings, but these church father writings are also based on the Bible, correct?
No, they're based on them being under these disciples. They knew them and continued their traditions.
Okay, okay, I understand. But yeah, I believe that perhaps Matthew or Mark or these other disciples, that they may have written something, but over time it has changed. And the
Okay.
same thing with the church father writings.
So, what do you have to believe that Matthew's writing changed?
It's in uh so it's like it's in the single like the single book of the Bible, but what I'm asking is like how they selected like these books to be inside of the.
Selecting the Bible has nothing to do with what you just said. Canonization has nothing to do with textual distortion, which is what you're accusing the Bible of. So, what do you have to show that Matthew's gospel was textually distorted, bro? Come on, man.
In Matthew's gospel himself, I don't know of any textual distortion or
So then
anything
why
contradictory.
so then why accuse it of being textually distorted and changed when you don't have
Because
that?
it's part of the whole, and the whole within itself.
That has nothing that has nothing to do. Matthew is an independent source, bro.
Okay.
Matthew is an independent source. Mark is another independent source. Luke, John, independent sources. The writings of Paul, independent sources. You know what I'm saying? So Matthew is an independent source. When you say that you have no evidence, no reason to accuse Matthew's gospel of being changed, why accuse Matthew's gospel of being changed? Because I asked that specifically.
About Matthew's gospel specifically, I can't make any claims.
Okay. So with Matthew's gospel, no evidence of a change or textual distortion, no evidence of anybody else being the disciple, but we got Matthew. All history points to Matthew, the writing points to Matthew, all of it. So then you have no reason to reject Matthew's gospel, right?
I would say out of ignorance, yes.
Well, that's ignorance is not a reason to do anything. Ignorance is not a reason to reject Matthew's gospel.
Okay.
So you don't have a reason to reject Matthew's gospel, right?
Not that I can put out right now, no.
Okay. Let's add another layer to this, bro. Let's add another layer to this because you're a Muslim. So, and thank you for being honest. We worked with, we had to chop it down, but You're honest so far. Thank you. Let's add this another layer to this, and this is actually an important layer of what the Quran says. The Quran says, um, 61:14. Now those kids are having fun, aren't they?
You can hear them.
Yeah. 61:14. And I'm gonna pull up the other verse in the Quran. I'm gonna pull up 354. 355. Sorry, 355. All right. Okay. So look at this, bro. This is important.
Yeah.
So here, 61:14, it says, "O you who believe, be Allah's helpers, even as Jesus, son of Mary, said to the disciples, 'Who are my helpers for Allah?' They said, 'We are Allah's helpers.'" First, let me ask you this. What does it mean to be Allah's helper?
To preach His word, whatever the revelation.
Exactly. The preacher's word. Exactly. So they're going to be preaching Allah's word, right? And they're going to be helping Jesus do it. And it says, "And a party of the children of Israel believed, while a party disbelieved. Then we strengthened those who believed against their foe, and they became uppermost." So the followers of Jesus, the disciples of Jesus specifically, went around preaching the gospel, and Allah helped them preach the gospel and strengthened them to the point where they became uppermost against their enemies who tried to stop them, who tried to come against them, who tried to distort their message. Allah made them superior above them. Right? You see that? Pretty clear?
Yeah.
All right, good. So now let's go to the other verse on the right side, 355. It's going to tell us how long will the followers of Jesus be victorious over the disbelievers? How long? Right? So here it says, remember when Allah said, "Oh Jesus, look, I am gathering thee and causing thee to ascend unto me, and I am cleansing thee of those who disbelieve." I'm cleansing you of those who disbelieve, and I'm setting those who follow you above those who disbelieve until the day of resurrection. So, how long will the followers of Jesus be successful against the disbelievers?
Until the day of judgment.
Until the day of judgment, my brother. You got it. So then it says, "Then unto me you will return, and I'll judge between you on that which you used to defer." So there is no point in time where the message of the disciples and those who also follow be followers of Jesus because of their message, there will be no point in time before the day of resurrection that the disbelievers overcome them and successfully deter them and infiltrate and mix the mix falsehood with the right message. They will never succeed against them. The disbelievers will never succeed according to Allah. Right?
Yeah.
So this would mean that the message of the disciples could not have been corrupted, could not have been changed, could not have
How
been
do you get that
destroyed.
conclusion?
Because it says that Allah will help them and make them superior over the disbelievers until the day of resurrection.
Okay, but how do you know the people right now are following Jesus?
Because it says that Allah made the followers of Jesus above those who disbelieve in Jesus. So let's look at this, for example. Let's look at history. Let's look at it right now.
Yeah, but I believe in Jesus. You believe in Jesus.
Yeah, but who's above? Like, who's the majority? Like, for example, what do the quote unquote majority of followers of Jesus say about his crucifixion, for example?
Like Christians?
Are, are Christians the majority followers of Jesus?
I mean, according to you, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, but is that according to me, or is it just numbers, period?
I mean, numbers are not always true, so. Well, it
Okay.
depends whose doctrine we're talking about.
Okay. Let me ask it this way. When it says here that I'm setting those who follow you above the disbelievers
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
until the day of resurrection. So the
Yeah.
followers of Jesus are preaching the gospel of Jesus, spreading the message, and Allah makes them victorious over those who come against them. That's what the verses say, right?
Yeah.
So if at any point in time the disbelievers successfully overcome the message of the followers of Jesus, then the Quran lied, because that's not supposed to happen, right? Right?
Okay.
So since that's not supposed to happen, and Allah Himself helps them against the disbelievers and makes them victorious over the disbelievers until the day of judgment, the disbelievers will never be successful against the followers of Jesus. That means that the disbelievers cannot come and corrupt the message of the followers of Jesus.
Okay.
So that concludes, therefore, the message of the disciples and the followers of Jesus could not have ever been distorted or changed. Or else that would mean that the disbelievers at some point actually overcame the followers of Jesus.
Okay, I can kind of see what you're saying.
Good. So this would mean that the message of the disciples and the followers of Jesus could not have been corrupted and changed by disbelievers. Could not have been infiltrated and misused and corrupted by
That's true,
disbelievers.
but according to Islamic doctrine, the message of Jesus is also supposed to have a successor.
No, it's not.
Like all the there's 1,024 prophets. After Jesus, there were many more.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. Let me even grant you that there's a successor that comes after Jesus. That still doesn't mean that Jesus' message gets corrupted just because someone comes after
Not
him.
corrupted, but I would say a kind of like what's the word? Like there's a new one, and like how the New Testament like supersedes the Old Testament, like the law in the New
The
Testament,
New
Jesus' law.
Testament fulfills the Old Testament, not supersedes. It
I
fulfills.
mean, yeah, that, but like kind of the same concept for like the person who comes after Jesus. So it's not like you're rejecting. It's not like you're rejecting like Moses' law or the Old Testament. It's kind of like fulfilling it.
Okay, no worries. So if you're changing, if that's your position, then you're holding the position that the message of Jesus is still intact, it's still there, it was never distorted, and then also the successor of Jesus comes and complements the message of Jesus.
The
And
original message of Jesus, which I don't believe we
wait,
have.
why are you saying original now? Because now when you're saying original, now you're saying that it's been distorted.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier about
Okay,
textual
good.
distortion.
So then that means that Allah failed to keep his promise and he lied to make the followers of
No,
Jesus
no, 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 no.
successful until the day of judgment against the disbelievers.
No. When the message is fulfilled by the next one, then the old one is not to be followed.
Okay, wait, well that's actually false, because your Quran tells even the Christians and the Jews to follow their books even in Muhammad's time. So that's false. However, let's deal with this really quick. You said so oh, well, this will mean that Islam when Islam came, they are continuing the success. Is that correct?
That Islam comes as a successor for all the prophets.
At any point in time before the day of resurrection, does the message of the disciples get corrupted?
In reality, yes, I would say so.
Okay. Does this verse say that Allah will make them victorious over the disbelievers and successful against them until the day of resurrection?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Does the verse say that they will be successful against the disbelievers until the day of resurrection?
Yes.
So, if they're if they wasn't successful against the disbelievers, if there was any point in history before the day of resurrection where the disbelievers actually successfully corrupted their message, then this verse is false and Allah lied and didn't keep his promise, right?
I would say I'm a believer of Jesus too, right? Like I'm a believer. I say I'm a believer of Jesus. You say you're a believer of Jesus. So it depends on what definition of Jesus' believers is in the ayah, and then it also depends on what success means in that verse.
Did the believers of Jesus get their message corrupted? Yes or no, man?
Did what?
You didn't hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. Sorry about that.
Did the followers of Jesus get their message corrupted? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Are you paying attention here, bro?
I'm sorry. There's a lot going around, man. I apologize for that.
But are you paying attention? Because it sounds
Yeah,
like
I'm trying to.
you're
I'm
like
trying to.
wasting my time or something on purpose.
No, I don't want to waste your time. If you feel like that, then I would happily get off stream.
Okay, so I'm gonna just ask you one last time.
Yeah.
You saw the verse.
Yes.
You saw that it says that Allah will make them successful until the day of resurrection.
Yes.
Were they successful until the day of resurrection, or did the disbelievers disrupt their message?
Okay. Let me give you a quick explanation, and then I'll hop off.
No,
So,
it's not. No, don't hop off.
I mean, okay, all right. So the believers of Jesus, right? According to Islam, there when the scripture of one when the revelation of one prophet is starting to like fail in like over time, because each scripture
Where
for
does
every
the Quran
prophet.
say that the followers of Jesus, that his message will begin to fail?
No, the Quran doesn't say that.
Okay, so according to this, the message of Jesus will remain successful, correct?
Yes.
So if there was a point in time where it was no longer successful, that means this verse is false, right?
Yes.
So either the message of Jesus was continuously successful and
Yes.
undistorted, or Allah lied and the disbelievers successfully caused the message of Jesus to fail, to where now you need Muhammad to come clean up the mess.
Okay. That statement kind of cleared up your position for me. But I mean, you're kind of looking at it as like Muhammad has to come clean up the mess, but I'm looking at
That's
it
what
as
you said. I'm
kind of
only
Muhammad
repeating,
has to come and fulfill it so that
bro.
Jesus' message and all the same, because it's the same message for all the
I'm only
prophets.
saying what you said. I don't believe that. I'm only repeating what you said, bro.
I didn't say that.
You said whenever a prophet's message begins to fail, he sends another one.
Like, because each message is not meant for all of time for all of people.
Does this say that Jesus' message is meant until the day of resurrection?
Well, not this verse, but that's according to Islamic doctrine.
But according to this verse, does it say that the message of Jesus will be successful until the day of resurrection?
Yes, and also I'd like to point out that the message of Jesus is the same. According to us, the message of Jesus
That's
is the
cute.
same as everyone else.
That's cute. The message of Jesus is supposed to be successful till the day of resurrection, right?
Yes.
So was there any point in time where Jesus' message failed?
No.
Very good. So that means that it wasn't corrupted.
What wasn't corrupted? Jesus' message?
Yep.
Uh, mm, it's a bit complicated, but
Take care, bro.
yeah, I feel like I'm wasting your time, man.
Take care. Take care.